Welcome to Man About Danville with Logan H. Gurman, a podcast for Danville, Kentucky and beyond. Conversations with friends, and you get to listen. Brought to you by the Logan Company, a commercial and residential real estate brokerage for Danville and Central Kentucky. 80% Danville-centric, 20% eccentric.
Good morning, Danville, Kentucky. You are listening to Danville's favorite podcast, Man About Danville. I am Logan H. Gurman, the man about Danville himself. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Whether you are in your car, on a commute, driving the kids to school, on a road trip, going on vacation, coming home from vacation, on vacation, hanging out by the pool, working late at the office, at the gym, on a run, mowing your yard, cutting hay, milking the cows, hanging at the fire station, whatever you're doing. Thanks for listening, and thanks for making this podcast a part of your day. If you like this podcast, and frankly, if you've listened this far, I assume you do like this podcast, consider giving me a rating or review on whatever platform you listen, whether it's Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts. I appreciate the ratings and reviews. Keep them coming. Really excited about my guest this week. He's a favorite son of Danville, Kentucky. I've got Jacob Tamme in studio today. Jacob, of course, graduated from Boyle County High School. Then he went on to a storied career as a tight end for the University of Kentucky. He was all SEC, was later inducted in the Kentucky Athletics Hall of Fame. Then he went on to a 9-year career in the NFL playing professional football. Now he's back home, and we get to catch up with him. I am pleased to be sitting down with Jacob Tamme. Jacob, thanks for being with me this morning.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Jacob, next to me, you may be the most famous person living in Danville other than a radio DJ who may or may not live here part of the time.
That's really high company, and I'll take that.
Well, I don't know that there's any real benefit to being famous or not, but anyway, here we are, two famous Danvillians. You, of course, went to Boyle County. You played football at the University of Kentucky, and then you went on to have how many years in the NFL?
9 seasons.
That's an incredibly long time in the NFL, is it not?
Yeah. I think the average is about 3. So it was a tremendous career, something that I never dreamt I'd get to do for sure. Yeah, every year just kind of went one at a time, and all of a sudden there were 9 of them stacked up.
And you played for the Colts, the Falcons at one point.
That's right.
And was there somebody in between?
I'm leaving it out there to see if you know.
Is the Broncos?
There you go.
Oh, see?
I knew you'd get it.
And I'm not even a sports
You
fan.
had it.
I'm not even a sports
Look
fan.
at that research. Colts, then Denver, and then Atlanta.
Okay.
At the end. Yep.
And, of course, you played with Peyton Manning.
I did. And speaking of famous, people talking about the word, famous, someone was talking with my wife, Allison, the other night over at the ballpark, and they were talking about knowing famous people, and this conversation was relayed to me by the person later on. He said, "Your wife said she doesn't know anybody that's famous," and I said, and he said to her, "Didn't you guys play like 7 seasons with Peyton Manning and like really close friends with him?" She was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about him." So,
All right. So after your NFL career, like most former NFL players, you moved back to Danville and you're a farmer now? And tell us what else is going on in your life.
yeah. So my day job is I manage investments. I'm a wealth management advisor with Meridian Wealth Management based out of Lexington. We've got offices different places. I have an office in Lexington. I work from Danville some as well. So I love doing that. Love building portfolios, managing investments, doing financial planning. It's something I had an interest in all the way back in college and had interned in that space. And really for me, when we got done in the NFL, I kind of had 2 potential routes. One would have been going into coaching, which was, appealing and, in a different life would have made sense to me. But that would have been, in coaching, it's not if you get fired, it's when. And so, you're moving your family, and it's just it's a lifestyle that we had been doing a little bit as a player, being in 3 different places in 9 years, but I was really blessed. I played out my contract each place. We never had to move in the middle of a season. We pretty much knew where our family was going to be. Coaching is a different animal. And every year that went by, it got a little bit less and less appealing to me to go coach, at the NFL level or at the college level. And we've had conversations over the last several years about that a few times, but the other route was what I'm doing, which is to go into the investment world, which I've always loved as well, and to be able to be here in Danville and raise our family here and have the cattle farm, which you mentioned, which is, so we have a registered Angus cattle farm, Tamme Valley Farm, that's been in the family since 1910, and just a tremendous blessing to get to kind of carry on that legacy a little bit and be a part of that. So, yeah, it's a random mix of things, but I'm an investment manager and a cattle farmer. You know, speaking of coaching, the head coach of the 11U Central Kentucky Sliders baseball team, assistant coach Woodlawn football, assistant coach Playmakers basketball. So, I mean, the coaching still happening. A lot of prestigious titles right now in that world.
With that much travel ball and that much youth league, it's amazing you have time to get to the office and manage a farm as well.
Well, you just said it when I walked in off air, you know, that farmers get up early. So farmers that are wealth managers and coaches of all the little kids stuff get up early too and just rock and roll. So we have a busy life right now, but it's a lot of fun. Wouldn't have it any other way.
So you all have, what, 2 kids?
We have 3 kids.
3 kids?
Yep. Luke, Lila, and Ella.
And how old are they?
11, 7, and 4.
Oh, you're right in the thick of it then.
And yeah, exactly right. My middle daughter, Lila, just got into golf last fall, so that's opened up another, a whole nother world. And then they're doing tennis and all. So it's nonstop between all the things, but it's all fun and all good. So,
are any of them going to be farmers?
Well, right now they're all sports. They all love the farm. They all help on the farm, but we're not like showing cattle like a lot of families do because it's really hard to show cattle and do sports. So, and the type of cattle we raise are more what we call performance cattle. More, we sell bulls to commercial cattle producers around here and even out into some other states, and we sell females to other registered Angus producers. So, we raise registered Angus cattle, and really, it's quite the challenge. I have a little bit of I know nothing, okay, so don't take this the wrong way. I have a little bit of experience in the thoroughbred breeding world. We partnered with some people back in the day I tell people, we owned like 1/2 of one hoof of a few mares, and, I love the science of breeding and studying pedigrees. And in the cattle world, most people don't understand that that's actually a thing in the cattle world too. When it comes to the registered Angus industry, every animal we own has a detailed pedigree, has what we call expected progeny differentials, EPDs. We take DNA tissue snips out of their ear and send them off to get tested. So there's so much science and data in the cattle world. So I love that part of it. I won't go any deeper than that. People are already falling asleep. They're listening. So, but it's a fun challenge to try to raise a great registered Angus animal.
All right. With your investment career, do you work with folks from all walks of life, or do you concentrate on former athletes or people that you used to know? Or
yeah, well, it's both. Probably about half my business is athletes, the other half is regular folks, business owners, retirees, some younger folks that are obviously have that long horizon out to retirement. So, and that's kind of how I want it. I certainly want to work with athletes because it keeps me connected to the game. I've got a lot of experience there. I think I can add, to their journey, and I enjoy walking through that with, whether it's a rookie or a veteran player. And it's amazing, a lot of athletes, obviously there are differences and unique aspects of what they're going through from the financial standpoint, but there are a lot of similarities too between what that person needs and what, a retired person that maybe has worked for 30 years at Kentucky Utilities, and then as far as building a portfolio goes. And I stay awake late at night, studying that stuff and love that challenge as well of building portfolios and putting a mix of investments together to get someone where they want to go, and really enjoy getting to work with different types of clients, whether it be an athlete, a business owner, or a retiree.
Since the first of the year, it's been a challenging market.
Sure.
Are you having? Do you find yourself having to work with people to help them not be nervous and not make knee-jerk reactions that they might regret later?
Well, I think first of all, I'm blessed in that realm as well. I've got a lot of great clients. So, a lot of people ask, when markets are tough, you're getting phone calls, and I don't get a ton of phone calls because, we try to set expectations and have the right conversations up front and also build portfolios in such a way that, we're invested at a risk tolerance that is appropriate. And if you get it right on the front end, it makes times like these a little bit easier. Although I will say, it's never fun to watch markets go down, and certainly when you've got an equity market and a bond market both going down at the same time. The traditional 60-40 portfolios had the worst start to a year ever. We do use some different investments, whether that's alternatives. And I won't go into all the details, but we've been building portfolios in a little bit of a unique fashion, but which has been good. When stocks and bonds go down together, it's good to have some other pieces in the pie as well. But it's certainly been a challenging year for markets. The macroeconomic backdrop is challenging. Even recently with where we see inflation, it's a challenging spot for sure.
Who was your coach at UK? Was that Rich Brooks?
Yes, my first year I came in with Rich Brooks. Yep.
Okay. When was that?
2003.
Okay, I think that's when I was living in Lexington. My cousin Kelly Sullivan, Holland. She's like Kelly Sullivan. Anyway, we were excited that there was somebody from Boyle County on the team. So you probably heard us cheering. Of course, as Danville's leading podcast, I have a crack staff, and I've got a couple summer interns in, and they were doing some research for me. It's my understanding you were the most hated man in the NFL at one point?
I was.
You didn't have a reputation as a terribly dirty player, and most tight ends, I'm guessing, don't. But how did you get to be the NFL's most disliked player?
Well, it's quite an interesting story, actually. I'm on Twitter. I don't do it.
What's your Twitter handle for those?
Jacob Tamme.
You must have a blue check for that.
I do have a blue check there, and I don't know how many followers I have now. I used to have around almost 50,000, a little shy of that. I don't know if that's real. As far as I know, I don't have any fake ones. I started Twitter back when I was, air quotes, more famous. I used to really enjoy Twitter, and I still get on there and check it a lot. I haven't tweeted much and lately. Football season comes along, I'll tweet some stuff about targeting and
you've had
UK
the
football,
occasional opinion on a call in a football game here. And there.
I do scream at the interwebs about any officiating I don't like, but I like to have fun with that. But I think I was on Twitter one day. I'm with the Falcons at the time, and I get on Twitter, and just on my feed I see this post from Sirius XM NFL Radio's account. It's a poll, and it says, who is the most hated player in the NFL? It's got Richard Sherman, Tom Brady, Cam Newton, Jacob Tamme. And I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, what is happening here? So I retweeted, of course, and I still don't know what's going on, I retweet it, and I'm like, hey, if you're
going to be a bear, be a grizzly.
That's exactly right. I'm like, can't remember what I even said, but the Falcons fans and some of the the folks from Denver, I think it just became it took off. People sort of memeing and joking this whole situation. Come to find out, as that started taking off, of people saying that of how mean I am and how hated I am. And I'm not famous enough in the NFL to be hated. The other names on the list
those are household names.
Those are. So come to find out, they were doing their radio show, I guess, that morning, and they were asking folks, call us in and tell us who your most hated player is. So people had called in and said Sherman, Brady, etc. And then a woman called in and said, I hated Jacob Tamme when he played for the Colts because Dallas Clark got hurt and Jacob came in and took all his touchdowns.
So she was just a random Dallas Clark fan.
So I said, this is amazing. First of all, that got me put on this list, and they were in a joking way, obviously, because this woman, who obviously just kind of out of the blue, just craziness. So then
Dallas Clark's mother, perhaps.
So then I called Dallas, and that becomes part of the thing. I told Dallas, I said, please tell your aunt to stop calling the radio station. Who says that? What kind of person said that? Like obviously it's not even a Colts fan. This must be like an Iowa Hawkeye, Dallas Clark family member, So because she called in and said that, it became, a thing that just took off, and we had a lot of fun with it. The Falcons had me do a lot of mean tweet reading, and they did a little social media stuff with it, and it all was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was great to find out. There's always people out there that don't like you, and it's part of life. But that was a weird one. That was a weird way find out.
It's a pretty funny title to wear.
Dallas Clark's aunt calling into the radio station started a tremendous string of events.
It's funny how those things go viral. I've yet to go viral. I'm looking forward to going viral.
You haven't gone viral yet?
Not yet. I don't know. It's hard to go viral. Maybe I've been viral in Danville, and the greater Boyle County area. But
Dan Viral.
Pete Kendrick claims that he was running one of the best rec league football programs of all time. They were undefeated until you came and gave them a pep talk.
If anybody around here's team is playing too good and they need to have an off day, shoot me a text for a pep talk, and I'll come.
If you want them to lose a game before the tournament just to get their minds right, you could fix it for them.
I told Pete, honestly, that's on you. I mean, you've had things going just fine. All right, then you try to bring in some kind of extra pep. I mean, when things are rolling good, you can't bring in the outside pep. Leave me out there on the sideline.
It's like changing your lucky socks. You don't want to do anything.
Yeah, leave me out there on the sideline, man. He's never let me live that one down. Apparently, worst pep talk and the total reverse motivation. Apparently, but I've had a few decent ones over the years.
UK looks like they're going to have a decent football season this fall.
I'm excited for it. I'm very excited.
Do you have any special memories from your time at UK?
Oh, too many. Yeah, a ton.
Any that stand out?
My time at Kentucky, I tell people all the time, and it's absolutely true. And I said this when I got inducted into the UK Athletics Hall of Fame a couple years ago. It's a tremendous honor. And I said that in my speech, and it is 100% true. I was not a good enough player, not even close to a good enough player to ever be considered for the NFL Hall of Fame. But even if I had been, I'm not sure that it would have been more special to me than the UK one, because UK's meant it's just deep down in here, and it has been since I was born. I think the night I was born, they were playing in the tournament basketball in Seattle, and my mom was almost didn't make it to the hospital because Dad was watching the game. I mean, it's like deep down in here, right?
You're not exaggerating there either.
No, that's like a true story. The years we had at Kentucky, and when we first came in, had a couple of really tough years in Coach Brooks' first couple seasons, and trying to get the program on good footing and turn it around and have and really create something that Kentucky fans, like I had been, could be proud of and could enjoy. Like, that was the highest honor to me, to be a part of that, and to have our last couple of seasons have some of those moments and really start to turn the program around. We beat number 9 Louisville early in the season to start the year. And then that LSU game when they were number 1 was such a special moment for everybody. I mean, I literally hear someone talk to me about that game every week. Yesterday, a guy was talking to me about how he did not go to the LSU game in 2007 because his girlfriend at the time had something going on, and he still can't decide if he made the right decision. The girlfriend became his wife, but he missed the game, and he's still trying to work that out in his head, whether he made the right call or not. So, that game was something that everybody remembers, and I think was such a special moment for our fan base that was really cool. And so, what Coach Stoops has done, fast forwarding to now, man, it's been so exciting, and to see where he's put the program, and I do think that they have an opportunity to have a really fun season this fall.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I really like fall in Kentucky, and when the football team's doing well, and Boyle County looks like they're going to have a good program this fall. And do you have anything to do with the Boyle County program these days, or just
number 1 cheerleader? No, I like I said at one point, I'm an assistant to the assistant for Woodlawn Colts football. So I really enjoy helping with the kids. And, there was a time at toward the end of my NFL career when I was considering going into coaching and had some opportunities as soon as I finished to go, coach in the NFL or college and go kind of start down that path. And I thought, like, coaching kids, I wasn't sure if it would, like when you get the chance to play at that level, like, the juice is real. Like, and I thought, like, trying to go down that path to be a coordinator or maybe even a head coach one day, like, that would be so fulfilling, right? But and like coaching kids or youth or middle or high school, whatever, like, wasn't sure what that would feel like, or like whether it would give you the juice after you've been playing at that level. And let me tell you, I mean, coaching, 10-year-olds and 9-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 11-year-olds. Like, it has been so much fun. I mean, like, I can't imagine, I can't explain how fun it has been for me. So I really enjoy it. Yeah, so I don't do anything with high school program. Coach Haddock's doing a great job. I'm the assistant to the assistant water guy, manager, equipment specialist for the Woodlawn Colts.
But you're in the system then. you're a cog in the great big Boco machine. So
I'm the guy tying the kids' shoes while they're trying to run at the end of practice.
That's a real part of the gig. Their time, as you know, I'm one of the most award-winning rec league soccer U8 soccer coaches in the county,
without question.
Yeah, running the North Boyle FC Jedi. And shoe tying, that's a critical part of the job. So, all right, so give me a good Peyton Manning story or two.
All right, a couple of Peyton stories that are very memorable to me. One of which would be my very first Peyton Manning story. It's kind of a two-parter, but I go up to the very first Colts practices after I'm drafted. So.
All right, so is he on he's older than you?
Yes, he's in like year 7 or something.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize he was that much.
Yeah. He's already won a Super Bowl. He's the best, probably the best quarterback in the NFL at that time. Obviously, he was one of the top 2 his whole career, probably. But at that time, he's Peyton Manning already. So it's year 7 or 8 for him. He's a big deal up there. The very first practice I ever participating in as a Colt is a spring, what we called OTAs, organized team activity, and it's just helmets only. But we're doing a lot of full speed stuff. We're doing routes, the very beginning of practice, and at this spring OTA, the Peyton Mannings of the world don't do a ton. This is a chance for these rookies like myself to get out there and all right, let's see what you got. Day one, let's see what's happening here. So we're in a line. We're doing 5-yard outs. The tight ends are. There's about 6 quarterbacks in the throwing rotation, and we're doing 5-yard outs. Literally the easiest route in the whole playbook for a tight end. I mean, it's just a 5-yard out. Couldn't get any more simple. And I'm watching, though. I'm like 5 deep in the line. I'm watching these rookie quarterbacks because about 5 of these 6 are rookies, and they are Brett Favring this 5-yard out. I mean, Nolan Ryan fastballs. So it's like, even though it's an easy route, it's like, you better get to 5 and snap your head around or you're going to get hit in the face mask with these balls because all these kids are trying to show off their arms. I'm like, guys, it's a 5-yard out. Everybody chill out. Like, first practice, they're just ripping these out routes. So I get up and I run my route and I snap my head around and I flash my hands and I'm ready to catch one of these fastballs and the ball is like a third of the way there and I'm ready to catch it. And it's just floating. And I'm like, oh, my God. And I just freaked out. I just had a total lapse of everything. And I end up, the ball literally bounces off my hands. Like, it was like I was playing defense. I mean, if I had the video of it today, I'd probably just cringe watching. Like, I knocked it down. And I'm like, what just happened? I mean, it's happening so fast. In my mind, I'm like, what just happened? And I looked over to see who threw it. And it was Peyton Manning.
The one guy who wasn't trying to show off for all the others.
And I was like, oh, my gosh, Jacob. You just dropped the first ball that Peyton Manning ever threw you. And I'm going to fast forward a couple days now. So take that little piece of the story. A couple nights after that, Peyton had all the Colts rookies that were drafted, so 7 of us that were drafted, to his house. He invited us over for a dinner. Ashley and Peyton hosting the 7 of us. And I'm like, at this point, I've only met Peyton one time, and that was dropping the pass in the first practice. So I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's go have a good dinner and just not be an idiot. And this is an amazing experience. I can't believe I'm going to Peyton's house, yada, yada. I get there, and I go in the front door, and he's standing right there in the foyer. Quick backstory. Senior year at Kentucky, one of my goals was to beat Tennessee. We still had that stupid streak going, right? So in that nice senior season we had, really good season, one of the heartbreakers was senior night. We got beat in 4 overtimes by Tennessee, 52-50. And that was a tremendous heartbreaker. That was one of the toughest losses I experienced at any level, including 3 Super Bowls. That was it was just a heartbreaker. So that night, when I walked in the foyer, Peyton shakes my hand, and the first thing he says to me is, being a volunteer, of course. First thing he says to me is, "Hey, man, it's great to have you on the Colts. By the way, thought y'all were going to break that streak this year, but it looks like it lives on another year." And I'm literally still shaking his hand. And I just looked at him, and I didn't think. It just came out. I'm shaking his hand, and it was the most. If you could just imagine being in this situation, and I looked at him and I said, "I don't joke around about Kentucky, Tennessee." And I was like, it was worse than dropping the pass. I'm like, what an idiot! What kind? I was like melting immediately, like. As soon as I said it, because he just looked at me kind of like, "Man, you're weird," And he's like, so I'm like, all right. I go back and I tell people, like, I went to the bathroom, I texted Alice, and I'm like, "Pack the bags. I think we're done." All right. I dropped the first pass. I just had the most awkward moment ever with this dude in his foyer, and I think we might be going home. So that was my nice start with Peyton. Dropped the first pass he ever threw me, and then walked in his house and awkwardly told him, "I don't joke around about Kentucky, Tennessee." But after that, I didn't drop a pass for a long time.
It seemed to work itself out.
I didn't drop a pass for a long time, and I think he respected the roots and how much I cared about
and your competitive nature
about Kentucky. So we ended up developing a tremendous friendship over the years, and it was probably the highest honor of my career to get to go to Denver with him. Of course, I tell people all the time he went with me, but to go to Denver when he went there and get to go with him and be a part of that organization for 3 years and all the fun we had there was just a tremendous honor. One more quick story from him, and this one's just a quick one. If you just in case anybody ever plays golf with Peyton Manning, also my rookie year, we went on a little trip, about 8 of us from the team, and it's a 100-degree day. We're playing this course down in Tennessee, and my wife is always reminding me to put sunscreen on if I'm on the golf course, which I appreciate, and, smart, good thinking, but I'm always forgetting too. So I'm better in my later years now, but back in the day, when I was 25, I just wasn't very good at it. So we're on about the third hole of the day. Peyton Manning comes to my cart from right in front of me, says, "Hey, man, you need some sunscreen?" And I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. Best quarterback in the NFL, great guy. Here he is giving me sunscreen.
Cares about you as a person.
How happy is my wife going to be? I'm like texting her. I'm like, "You're not going to believe this. This guy just reminded me about my sunscreen. I mean, how awesome is this, So I lather it on, neck, face. I mean, even under the eyes. I got the ears, the forearms. And it took about 5 minutes. And about the time we got to the green on that hole, and I realized this is not sunscreen. Retext my wife, "Never mind. This guy is the worst." It was Flexol, and it was already 100 degrees. So now my body is literally on fire. So Peyton and the other veteran players got a good laugh that day.
Rolling.
The fun part of that is over the years, I got to see some other rookies go through that same process, which was always rewarding to get to see others go through that. But so the moral to the story is, if you ever play golf with Peyton Manning, do not take the sunscreen.
Bring your own sunscreen.
Do not accept the sunscreen.
Any good Boyle County stories?
Oh, there's all kinds. Let's see.
Who were some of the guys you played with at Boyle County?
Well,
when did you get out of Boyle County?
Bobby and Travis Lefevue would have been older than me. I played maybe a year with Bobby.
And they went on. Did they all play at U of L?
They both played at U of L. Yep. Jeff Duggins was our quarterback. A little quick story about that as far as how things work out. I was a quarterback in elementary and middle school through 8th grade. I was a quarterback in 9th grade, and Jeff Duggins was in 10th grade. He was a sophomore, and he started as quarterback that year. And my recollection of the situation was that he was going to quarterback really one season. Like while I was a freshman, I develop and grow a little bit, and then he'd probably play another position, and I would become the quarterback as a sophomore. And I was a pretty decent little quarterback. Well, guess what? As a sophomore, Jeff Duggins went 15-0, and we won the state championship. So guess who played quarterback the next year?
Yeah.
Jeff Duggins, not me. So when I became a sophomore, I got moved to receiver and corner on defense. And Jeff Duggins went 15-0 again. Third year, Jeff's senior year, of course, we went 15-0 again. So we ended up 45-0 in those my first 3 seasons in high school football. But going back to that first one, like I was supposed to become the quarterback my sophomore season, but that didn't happen.
Were you? I'm guessing if you thought you were supposed to be the quarterback and you did get to be the quarterback, you would have been a little upset about that.
Oh, well, no, that's the moral to the story. Like right, wrong, or indifferent, as a player, all the way through my career, I really just kind of showed up every day to do what my coaches said and tried to do it the best I could. And let me just tell you, being a part of some really good teams back in that day helped put somebody like me on the map for some of these colleges.
Being 45-0 would go a long way to.
Sure, it helped me. It helped some other kids too, for sure. Like, and I tell kids this all the time now. Everything's so individualized these days, from club soccer to travel baseball to,
NIL money.
Really, football's like the only one left that's still somewhat not gone totally down that path. And I'm not knocking it. I mean, I coach a little travel baseball team. But you got to remember that team success does lead to individual recognition. And it's not the other way around. Like, you can certainly be a very good player on a subpar team, but it's a lot harder to get noticed that way. And if you really do put the team first and do what your coaches ask, try to, every day just go compete, have fun, play hard, one day at a time. Like, that's how stuff works out. I really believe that. And so going back to those high school days, moving to another position, just kind of took it in stride. Well, then guess what? Obviously, we had great team success. I got noticed. I became a good receiver, et cetera, et cetera. Got to go to UK eventually, which is a long, kind of prolonged story how that all happened. But I ended up at Kentucky, which was a dream come true. Guess what happened at Kentucky? I got my position changed again to tight end from receiver. But every single time, I knew that there was a reason for it, right? And so, again, that I would have never become an NFL receiver, but I became an NFL tight end. And by the way, we had more team success in those last 2 and 3 seasons at Kentucky than we had in a long time. So we had a lot of guys start to get noticed. So, that's something I really believe in. I got to live it out of seeing, really focusing on team success lead to individual recognition and sort of opening doors. So I think it's a great reminder for kids now in what's probably the most hyper-individualized context that kids have ever grown up in,
Well, what's the long and winding story about how you got to UK then?
Well, there were scholarship limitations at the time from probation from the Hal Mummy years. And again, to sort of make a long story relatively short, midway through that senior season, early in our senior season at Boyle, I had decided I was going to go to Kentucky. I told my parents I'm going to commit this weekend at the Kentucky game. That Friday night, we had our first loss as high school players to Danville at home. Oh. And on Saturday, I kind of made the decision to not go commit because that was a heartbreaking loss for all the reasons, obviously. And I didn't want to go have this big story about myself the next day. It just wasn't the right time. And so I didn't. And that next week, we got a call from Kentucky and they told me that they couldn't take any more receivers, that another receiver had committed over the weekend and I didn't have a scholarship anymore. It was, and they only had 13. Like, there wasn't blaming the staff at the time or anybody else. Like, it just kind of, it really stunk the way the timing all worked out. And so fast forward, Coach Morris, who was coach at the time, ended up getting a great offer to go to Baylor in February of the next year, like right at the end, right when I was getting ready to take my visits to Northwestern, West Virginia, some other places where I was considering. And Coach Morris went to Baylor. And at the time, I'm like, I don't know if that means there's any chance to go to Kentucky or not, but I can see. And so as a high school senior, and this is not my MO, but I did it, which still kind of surprised me this day. I called Mitch Barnhart, who I did not know, who certainly did not know me, and introduced myself and said, would you do me this favor? Whoever you hire to be the football coach, would you tell them that if they offer me a scholarship, I'm coming to Kentucky?
No matter who it is.
Yeah. And probably 4 or 5 days after I'd made that phone call, he hired Rich Brooks. I know Coach Smith at the time at Boyle had talked with Coach Brooks within the first couple of days. They'd had a conversation or two, and Coach Brooks had looked at my film. So he's still putting his staff together, and I'm getting ready to take these visits to some other schools, and he's trying to figure out this situation with me and see if he can make it work with the scholarships, all this stuff, or if he even wanted me, you know. And the next thing I knew, Coach Smith had come out and got me out of class one day to tell me that I did not have a scholarship anymore, that when they had to take it away. And so back to when Coach Brooks got hired, that a couple days later, Coach Smith came and got me out of class again, and he said, "Hey, Coach Brooks just called. He offered you a scholarship to play football at Kentucky." And I went ahead and said yes for you. So that was a crazy day and just a crazy sort of experience of how all that worked out. Because a week or two later, I would have been at West Virginia or Northwestern, most likely, and probably been in one of those places. And
did Coach Smith wind up on Brooks' staff?
A couple years later.
Yeah.
He didn't go that year. I think it was maybe 2 seasons later. So that's kind of crazy how that worked out too. With, Coach Smith had become an incredible high school coach in Kentucky and was obviously appealing to have him on the staff from every standpoint, recruiting, his football knowledge, everything. I guess it was 2 seasons later that he got hired, to go up there. So that was cool for me. I didn't, obviously, as a defense, he was a linebackers coach, so I didn't interact with him every day in our day-to-day stuff, but it was really neat to be up there for a couple years with him, while we had those seasons of sort of changing the character of the program,
changing the whole trajectory of the program. It's been on it's been going in the right direction ever since Rich Brooks showed up.
Mostly, yes, though. Well, it's
always been a smooth course.
It's always rewarding,
trending properly.
Coach Stoops has done Coach Stoops is doing what we all always wanted to do and want him to do and want the program to do, which is take it to the next level. Mm-hmm. Like back, I like to think that we gave it some footing back in those 06, 07 years, and there were some down years in there, but like it's always rewarding to me when someone will say, the program's in a great spot now. You guys helped change it back then, and that means a lot to think that people would think that, and we certainly we had a lot of guys put a lot of effort into making that happen, and so it's great to be a part of that for sure.
So is Mitch Barnhart going to be at the Swings for Soldier event? Full circle?
He's been at a lot of them. I don't know about this year yet, but he's been at a lot of them.
With his golf polo buttoned all the way up.
That's right.
Jacob, since I started this podcast 2 years ago now, and how it's been 2 years, I don't know, but you've always been on my list of people, of Danvillians I wanted to talk to, and one of the things I wanted to talk to you about specifically was your Swings for Soldiers event. Am I getting the name right?
Absolutely, yep. And
that is coming up in July. Would you talk to us about what that is and what's going on?
Yeah, it's coming up July 18th. This will be our 12th annual Swings for Soldiers, and I'll try to make it relatively brief. As my friend Peyton used to say, when someone would be telling a story, and about midway through they'd go, "Long story short," and if he was listening and he did not agree that it was a short story at that point, he would respond, No. As they said, long story short. Oh yeah, long story short. No. It's too late for that. But I'll try to be relatively brief.
To take your time.
About 12 years ago, we were in Indianapolis with the Colts and knew I had played in enough charity golf scrambles that I thought I could put on a good one and take the things that I liked from all the different ones I'd been a part of and mold it together and create something pretty fun. And we knew in our heart, we wanted to give back to the military, to veterans in some form or fashion. And we did a lot of research and spent some time praying on it. And we found an organization called Homes for Our Troops, which was based out of Boston. At that time, they were very well ranked, really highly rated charity, but they didn't have a ton of national, name recognition. Since then, they've had people way more important than me jump on board and start promoting their cause, like Phil Mickelson and Jake Tapper and some other actual famous people have kind of jumped behind Homes for Our Troops. But at the time, they were really excited to have this kind of no-name tight end from the Colts give them a call. So we called them and said, "Hey, we want to support you guys. We want to put on a golf tournament and donate all the proceeds to you." And so since then, we just forged a partnership with them, and every single year we raise funds at the golf tournament that go directly toward building a specially adapted home for a severely wounded vet. And that's what they do. So every year they'll give us a pool of 2 or 3 folks going through their program to choose from, and we'll choose one of those folks to be our honoree at our event, and all the proceeds will go toward helping build their home. So it's such a tremendous organization. I think they're the best one in the country that builds homes for wounded vets, which is why we partner with them. And it's been incredibly rewarding. Every year we add another family to what we call now our Swings family, and just watching that group grow and all the relationships that have been built out of it. Besides the homes themselves, which at the beginning we said all these folks are either amputees or double amputees or worse. Some have some forms of paralysis and all kinds of different issues that they're dealing with from what they experienced as a life-changing, negative, traumatic event fighting on our behalf. Right, wrong, and different, politics of the war aside, these folks signed up to protect us, and they experienced a life-changing negative event in that process. And so we want to give them a life-changing positive event. And what better way to give them a life-changing, life-altering positive event than a home that they can operate in, that they can cook breakfast for their kids in, that they can shower themselves in, that they can be independent in again. And so that's what we want to do. So
it's not going into some anonymous pool of funds. You guys are helping to build a specific house for a specific person and family.
That's right. Yep. And one of the reasons we partnered with Homes for Our Troops was their record on the financial side of things, and just really, we thought about doing our own foundation at the time, which a lot of people do, and there's positives and negatives. But at the end of the day, we decided, we don't need to do that. This is what we want to do. So let's just raise the funds directly for these folks and let them do their thing. There's nobody better at taking money and turning it into a specially adapted house for wounded vets than Homes for Our Troops. And so it's been an awesome partnership.
Do any of these guys live around here close, or?
It's sort of a glass half full, half empty situation. We always, want to impact Kentucky vets when we can. And we're not directly involved with the beginning of the process of these folks getting to Homes for Our Troops. Like I said, we kind of they'll send us a few each year. But we try to stay as local as possible. There's been one home in Western Kentucky that was our very first honoree. And after that, we've had a lot of Southern Ohio, Southern Indiana, some in Tennessee. So that's where the majority have been, right around here: Tennessee, Western Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana.
Do these guys get to come in for the golf tournament?
Yeah. So that's been the coolest part. I'll share another quick story about it. The very first year we did it, my wife Allison and I did every single thing start to finish. I mean, made every phone call, generated every dollar that we raised, as far as just the sweat equity was very high, right? Like, we started at the kitchen table and did the whole thing. And by the time we had a double shotgun scramble started, we were out there like 5 a.m. Like that year, I was putting the hole signs. I was looking at the par fives, trying to figure out if we wanted to play this one from 500 or 495. Like that. It was just like the longest. It was an incredible experience, but it took so much energy, so much effort. And I wanted it to be perfect, so it was just overkill, everything, And by the end of the night, Chase and Jennifer Matthews, who I mentioned out from Western Kentucky, he was our first honoree. They were there. I'm driving him around on the golf cart the whole day. He's a double amputee. At that point, he couldn't swing and didn't know anything about golf. So I'm driving him around on the golf cart all day, introducing him to folks, and folks are very respectful, very appreciative. Just it was a great. But I wanted to make sure Chase was having a good day. Like, none of those guys want pity, but right. They will accept appreciation, right? And so. And I'm driving him around, and he hasn't really said a word. I mean, he's kind of a quiet guy anyway. And by about midday, I hit a bump on the golf cart for like the 50th time. And every time I hit a bump, I've never driven a double amputee around. I hit a bump, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. He's like, he's kind of like grunts, Well, about the 50th time I hit a bump, I'm like, I'm so sorry. He goes, man, you suck at driving this golf cart. And he smiled, and started laughing. And from that point forward, we had the best time. The very end of the night, the last 4 people to leave we had a big dinner after the second round of golf. At about 11 o'clock, myself, Allison, Chase, and Jennifer are leaving, and we're the last people leaving. We're going out to the empty parking lot, and literally in my head at that time, I remember thinking, this was wonderful, but we can never do it again. It was too much. It just took too much. It was it's just not going to be feasible. And as that thought was in my head, Chase Matthews was being pushed in the wheelchair right beside me to my right, and Jennifer was pushing him, and he looked up. Not a word had been spoken. He looked up and he said, "Hey, man, this was a great day. Next year, I'm going to play golf." And him saying that to me, leaving the parking lot that day, changed the course of 11 more families' lives. By him, I had cold chills just run down my body when he said, "Next year, I'm going to play." And not only have we had the event for 11 straight years after that, he's played golf all 11 years too.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's been a tremendous experience. We have some of our vets can't play; they physically can't do it. We have about 3 or 4 or 5 that do play and really come and be in the event and play. So it's just, man, that story. And I know it's a long-winded story, but it reminds me every time I think about it. Like what the power of the right word at the right time can do. Not only for who you speak it to, but like it goes out. Right? I mean, he impacted a lot of families' lives that evening when he looked up and said that. So it's been a tremendous experience doing the event, and we love it, and looking forward to this year, July 18th. All
right, so it's July 18th. Where are y'all going to have it?
It's going to be at the University Club of Kentucky. So that first year I mentioned, we do a double shotgun every year. We have a ton of people have been so supportive. We need 2 scrambles, but we want to do them on the same day. So we fill up both courses at the University Club instead of doing one course twice, making it all. So we'll have both courses at the University Club going off at 1:00, and then we have the best dinner in charity golf by Tony's. They've been a tremendous supporter of the event for a lot of years now. We'll have that afterward, and have some really neat auctions. And
I don't play a lot of golf. Where is the University Club?
It's out on Leestown Road.
Okay, so it's in Fayette County.
Yep, they got 2 courses there, and it works out really well.
Is it near in time to the Barbasol?
In the past it has been. Now it's one Monday later.
Oh, it's later.
Yep, it's one Monday after. So Barbasol ends the Sunday before. Then it's 1 week from that next Monday.
Okay, but July 18th is when you are.
July 18th. Yeah, and if anybody, spots are filling up, there won't be spots left for long. But you can email Amanda at swingsforsoldiers.org.
All right, say that again.
Amanda at swingsforsoldiers.org.
Okay. I'll put a link to that in the show notes too.
Yep. But that's the best way to get more information. You can check us out on the web. We try to keep the website updated as often as possible, but that's simply just www.swingsfor.org. Oh, sorry. www.swingsforsoldiers.org.
All right. Anybody famous coming in? Any of your former teammates or anything like that coming in?
I don't know any famous people, remember?
Oh, yeah. Well, any washed up former athletes going to come in?
We do. Yeah, that's right. We always have a good group of former NFL guys, former UK folks from different sports, and we'll have that again this year. The commitments are always last second. So, in the past, we've had anybody from, my old teammates Wesley Woodyard and Pat McAfee from the Colts, who's now he is famous now.
He's almost more famous now than when he was playing.
He may be. Most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. He's hard. I can't get him now because he's gotten so famous.
But he has like a full-time media gig. And
sure.
Wesley Woodyard, I think, has a full-time media gig too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe out in Denver.
Not as big as Pat's, but yeah, Pat's become, a real. He's the one jumping in the lake every morning on College Game Day, right? I don't know if I've seen that. He has his own brand that, of course, and he's also done some stuff with ESPN, I think. But yeah, he jumped in the lake in Broad Ripple back in the day. That was an old Pat McAfee story from when he got in trouble. Where he ended up. It's probably what started, spurring on his famousness. But
now he has to, every time he sees a body of water, he has to be on brand.
Maybe. Yeah. He's a great guy, though, and he's had tremendous success. I'm really happy for him.
Jacob, thanks so much for taking time to be with me from your investment career, from your cattle farm, from your coaching, from this awesome Swings for Soldiers event. I know you're a busy guy, and I really appreciate you spending some time with me this morning.
It's a pleasure to be on the most famous podcast in all of Danville, and I really do appreciate you having me on. It was fun. Enjoyed it.
I chased you for long enough, and I'm glad we were able to sit down and talk. So thanks for being with me.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
I'd like to thank my guest again, Jacob Tamme. Appreciate Jacob for taking time out of his life to sit down with me and talk, and I will get links up to his organization, swingsforsoldiers.org. I'll get a link up to that in the show notes. Do you need to get in touch with me, Logan H. Gurman, the man about Danville himself, to talk about either the show or real estate? You can reach me at manaboutdanville@gmail.com. That's the email address, manaboutdanville@gmail.com. You can find me on my website, manaboutdanville.com. I'm on Instagram at manaboutdanville. On Twitter, the handle is at ManDanville. Facebook page, Man About Danville. You can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, Google Podcasts, and I've even got a YouTube channel. Just about anywhere you like to listen, you can find me there. If you have a moment, hit the subscribe button wherever you listen. I also really appreciate the reviews and the ratings. Until next time, be well, have a good weekend, and thanks for listening.
That's it. We're out. Thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Subscribe to Man About Danville wherever you access your favorite podcasts, and be sure to tell your friends about us. You've been listening to Man About Danville with Logan H. Gurman, brought to you by the Logan Company, a commercial and residential real estate brokerage for Danville and Central Kentucky. Know someone who would be a good guest? Want to be a guest yourself? Have an idea for the show? Get in touch with us. Find all our contact information on the web at ManAboutDanville.com. Thanks for joining us.